It's no different than real estate. You add a little value and now the valuation goes up.
Hey, MU Nation, welcome to the Millionaire University podcast. I am your host, Brian Guerin, and I have a question for you. If you could own a machine that produced $500 per month in profit, would you do it? And what if I said you could do that multiple times over with multiple machines per month? Today's guest does just that. He owns upwards of 25 vending machines that produce anywhere from $500 to $1,500 plus per month in profit. We're talking profit, not just revenue, profit. We're going to talk all about how easy it can be to start a vending machine portfolio, a vending machine route, and start making the type of money that can replace your income and push you on the path to financial freedom. So let's welcome to the classroom, Mr. Mike Hoffman of MrPassive.com. Give us a little bit of context on Mike Hoffman. I know you were in sports, health, and science, and then a little bit in real estate. How did all that parlay into running a vending machine business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was definitely a journey. I grew up with some parents that worked their tail off back in the Midwest. And so I had this kind of grew up in the entrepreneurial mindset, my dad's own business. And anyway, I got into human performance, studied exercise science in college, got into collegiate strength conditioning, working with athletes. And I was making like $1,200 a month as a strength coach at a university back in the Midwest. And at the time, I was like, this is not 60 hours a week during a football season makes no sense. Those numbers, like, this isn't sustainable to raise a family, which is a priority of mine, take care of my body and my mind, all of those things. So I transitioned into trying to build income through other income streams. And I had always heard about real estate. I got a cash flowing cheap property in St. Louis, like $70,000, $10K down payment, cash flowing a couple $100. And then when I was started traveling for a new job, I was always in airports during layovers. And I was always frustrated because they didn't have any healthy options and the vending machines were empty. But I knew there was something to it because this bottle of Kirkland water you could get for 10 cents at Costco, I was paying $4 for in the airport. And I knew someone was making money by just the hard work of stocking a vending machine report. So I did a little research. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal about a guy working 15 hours a week, making 20 grand a month. And I was like, I need to explore this. So that's what led me to vending. So it was this whole kind of healthy options type interest plus a little literally earn some money while I'm sleeping.
That's awesome. Yeah. And think about the markup on that, right? Like that 10-cent bottle of water going for $4 at the airport and multiply that times however many water bottles are in that machine.
Oh,
right?
It's crazy. I was looking at the sales reports from last night because now we have 25 of these things out in the wild. And with Jim, we just installed in last night. I think we did 30 bottles of water and Gatorade, and the bottles of water we're selling for $1.75. They cost us 17 cents from Costco. The Gatorade Zero is 64 cents from Costco, and we're charging $2.50. So like none of my stocks in my portfolio are giving me that return.
Why vending over real estate? I feel like there's that, like, the wealth is in real estate. We all need a piece of property. We all need to be able to go and have multiple family dwellings and such, but what is it about vending that really took precedent for you over real estate?
Yeah, so I think it was when I got property, I realized the down payments just weren't sustainable with what my W-2 paycheck was making me. I have properties. I just closed on a development project 2 weeks ago. But with vending, there's minimal capital needed. And that's what you think about the benefits you rattle off about real estate. Depreciation. Well, your vending machines are now the car you drive to go stock those machines, the mileage to go to Costco with your daughter if you're getting vending items while you're getting your groceries, like all those things just start to add up. It was a no-brainer type of business model for us. And then also vending machines, people don't realize this, but these $8,000 machines, 95% of manufacturers don't even require a down payment. So the cash flow on the machine, I usually do a 48 or 60 months kind of term on the financing, and I'll pay it off in the first year with profit.
That's amazing. So we're talking numbers here. I think the number one question that most of our listeners are going to have is, what is the earning potential of a single vending machine and then a vending route?
It's totally location dependent, and that's something maybe we can get into next, is what makes a good location. But installed at a fitness center last week, I was telling you about that one, about $100 a day, one machine. And so that's on pace to do 3 grand in its first month. And then we installed what's called a smart machine. So it uses AI cameras to charge you with what you grab. I got to scan anything like that. And that one's doing over $120. So it's on track to do potentially 3,500. I mean, we literally last night I was looking at the sales, and it's finals week. This is a college apartment. It did $210 yesterday. Profit margin 60%. When you do the math, that's a dividend that pays for our nanny.
Yeah, no joke. Okay, so you mentioned location, and then this particular example being in a college dorm area. What are the best locations? How do you pick the location?
The simplest level, you want high foot traffic. And you can break that into a couple categories. The first one is obviously residential. So your apartment complexes, 100 plus units. If you get 200 plus units, you're sitting pretty. The second thing is you got what I consider your businesses, so 100 plus employees. And then you got your what I would consider your airports, your gyms, your community centers, YMCAs, little kids, gymnastics, like wherever there's just high foot traffic. So I always look at is the parking lot full? If it is, I need to go in and ask to talk to the manager. And so that's why I have this gym. I went by at 9 a.m. I was like, this is interesting. This parking lot is packed. So I came back around 4 o'clock and the parking lot was full again. So I just went in and talked to the manager. And within 4 weeks, we had a signed contract and the machine order.
That's really cool. Well, okay, so high traffic areas, a minimum unit count if you're looking at a residential building. So for me, naturally, I need to know, how do I get into these locations? What's the strategy on that?
Locations are the limiting for people to grow a business. So you need to really prioritize. If you think of 80-20 rule, 80% of your focus needs to be on the front end development of finding locations. So there's a couple strategies. You can obviously do pop-ins. I think that weeds out a lot of your competitors because humans are lazy. They don't want to talk to other humans they don't know. So that automatically gets you ahead of the game. Then you can follow up with an email, a marketing flyer, and then also tap into your network. I know, Brian, you're very connected in kind of that Ohio region. So there's got to be people because then you have the revenue share side of this that makes it a win-win for the property, where you'll give them a piece of the revenue. So now they're making revenue and they're not the ones stocking the machine, ordering the machine, maintaining the machine, that whole kind of what they consider. They're already having pain points of relying on their employees to show up for work, yet alone get the tasks done they need to do.
And I imagine a lot of these locations, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like vending might not be a high priority on their to-do list, right? If you're managing, let's say, a 100-unit complex, there's probably a lot of other residential problems you're dealing with on a daily basis. Does that make it easier as a vending route owner to hop in there and be like, hey, do your residents need this?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. So it makes it easier in that if your competitor tries to email them about vending, they're probably not checking their email. But if you pop in and you catch them in between meetings, or you grab their business card and then email them, and then naturally they're going to respond to you if you made the effort to come by and they weren't available to meet with you. So there's that side of it. But then there's the other side of they are putting out fires all day. I laugh because you talk to these managers and it's, some drunk kid last night left the shower on in the 4th floor, out of the 3 floors below them. They're not worried about what snacks are in your vending machine in the game room. They don't care. They want it out of sight, out of mind. It's an amenity. Brian's running that machine. He doesn't make revenue if that machine's not stocked. So that's kind of the skin in the game side for you. So they just want to know that that's a service that keeps the residents happy or the employees happy, and then they can worry about their day job.
Hey, it sounds like you got to hit the ground running. You got to pound the pavement, got to make the calls, got to make the emails. Kind of the classic in any form of business. You've got to put your sales head on, put yourself out there, and start hitting the volume, right? It's no different for vending.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, how I got my first location is we had a connection with an apartment complex next to the university here. And so I just went in and asked for the manager, and she's like, oh my gosh, this was right at the beginning of COVID, or right before COVID, where, it was this whole what's going to happen over here thing. And so she's like, yeah, we want a vending machine. And I didn't even know where to go to find one. So it was like the classic create the mess and then figure out how to clean it later type of thing. So she's like, yeah, we're ready to move forward. So thank God for ChatGPT wasn't even around then, but thank God for these websites with contract templates, and I just figured it out. And I actually the reason I picked this one manufacturer was, well, there's two reasons: no money down. And then they had the most YouTube videos on how to get a machine through a doorway, how to set the prices, how to turn the thing on. Like, because I was coming at this completely as a beginner with, I didn't even know how to get on the bike with training wheels.
So you mentioned the machines. Let's get into the nuts and bolts on, if I'm starting a vending machine business, where do I go to get my first machine? Who sells these? Do I buy them used? Do I buy them new? I know you mentioned new and you can put zero money down for X amount of months, right? What's the move there?
Depending on the location, you can do new or used. Now, if you're high rise in downtown Dayton, they're probably not going to want the used machine you find on Craigslist because it's old, ugly, and bulky. They want the modern kind of smart, cooler look that's aesthetically appeasing, all of those things. But if you get a gym that's rusty, dark, they're not going to care. And so you can get that used one off of a used website. There's all kinds of websites out there. Even Facebook Marketplace has a ton of these things for sale. And then, yeah, it's a total, it's super simple. You get the machine delivered to the location. So literally all you're doing is unwrapping it. You know, if at the credit card reader, you need one of those because that's going to increase your sales by over 70% versus just cash. And then the beauty of this stuff is you just track all your inventory remotely from your phone. So you can track your sales from the night before when you were sleeping. You can track how many candy bars you need to take over there to go stock. And then it just kind of parlays and you build a system. And if you're like me about making things passive, then you can delegate once you know what you're delegating.
So it sounds like going the path of new machine makes a little bit more sense in terms of, I imagine, we haven't talked about maintenance yet, but I imagine that's low because it's brand new. Do they deliver it like to the location, or are you lugging around this like 1,000-pound behemoth in a truck?
Yeah, no, they deliver to the location. So those two I was telling you about earlier, doing over 100 a day, we just showed up. We showed up with the box cutters to cut all the plastic because it was obviously wrapped, sitting on a pallet that was delivered to the gym or to the apartment. You just meet the delivery guy there. They call you a couple days ahead of time, just like when you order a fridge or a big appliance. And it's the same exact process with a vending machine.
Wow. Okay. So new. And then if you want to go the used route, what are the pitfalls of going used versus new?
So I tried to save a couple $1,000s on my first ever vending machine in, I think, 2018. I got it off Craigslist. I was like, man, this is great. This machine is $5,500 brand new. I'm getting it for $2,900 and they're going to deliver it. Well, the machine broke in 6 months. And I don't want to be a vending machine expert. I don't want to and these things are built to last. Like if you look at the one, at that Super 8 or, some Motel 6, those things are probably 30 years old and those things are still running like a freaking tank. And so vending machines will last a long time. So after I bought that first one off Craigslist and it broke, and then I had to call a maintenance guy, and it's like, this is not what I want, that I've gone new ever since.
Okay, new ever since. And like you said, you can put no money down over 60 months plus and just pay it off with your profits. It makes too much sense. It's like free money.
It blows my mind how archaic and old this engine. It's prime for disruption. This fitness center, $6,000 to get this machine on site. No money down. A lot of these companies won't even pull your credit. And so I did a 60-month lease for like $170 with current interest rates. I think it was like 8.9%. My first monthly payment of that 60-month term is 90 days after the machine gets turned on. So I'm going to do these first 90 days, Brian, I'm doing 90 days of sales. So I'm doing literally $100 a day. I'm going to do $9,000 in sales. My margins are 60%. I could, in theory, almost pay the whole thing off in 90 days. Now I'm going to pay back my operator that goes and stocks it and things like that. But my whole goal with all these financing is pay them off in the first year, and then I can use those machines as a depreciable asset, just like with real estate.
Wow. Okay. They're tying it back to real estate. I see what you did there. So, and pricing wise, so it sounds like a new machine is anywhere in the ballpark of 6,000 to 10,000 versus a used being in that maybe 3 to 5? Is that
Yeah, exactly. That's spot on.
okay? Okay, gotcha. So it's a relatively, it's not like you have to, like you said, you don't have to put that $6,000 down. Like it's this what makes vending a very low barrier of entry in terms of capital, startup capital.
We have people in our community where they just want their 14-year-old to get a couple $100 a month to truly learn supply and demand and economy 101 through a vending machine. I mean, there's no easier way than making your teenager go buy groceries, mark up the prices in a vending machine, see what sells, and then go buy more of what's, that whole kind of supply and demand real world example. But the side of this that's really interesting is you can have the one person that just wants an extra $500 a month. So they put a vending machine in a gym. That's all they care about. And then you can have the other person that's like trying to set them up to leave from their W-2 or, we haven't that last January. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, I just lost my job. Can you help me build a vending route up in Minnesota? And he's up to 35 machines now doing over 30 grand a month. But he was very motivated, very hungry, like I got to provide for my family and I just lost my job.
Absolutely. That's incredible. So let's talk about what goes into these machines. I know in my mind, when I think of a vending machine, I think of the traditional, it's got your candy bars, your bags of chips, your goldfish, what have you. But I know going through airports or being at my own gym, I know they have a vending machine. Maybe they need a new one. I should look into that. But they have all sorts of sports drinks and kind of like power bars, you name it. What sells the best? What do you guys pick? And what are like some of the higher end stuff? I've seen like salad vending machines. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's the farmer's fridge machines are getting a lot of visibility in airports these days. So it's totally location dependent. This gym versus college apartment example from the last week. It's interesting because the college apartment, community, it's a lot of like no sugar Alani, Celsius, like the younger crowd, the yerba mates that really want the healthy items and then you got the late night munchie crowd that's going after the bags of Skittles and the big, like what I call movie theater size bags of candy. And then from the gym side, I mean, we're selling everything from a bottle of water for, $1, $1.50, $2 to the 2-gram protein shakes for $6, where the muscle, the bodybuilder is viewing that shake as a meal replacement. So you're kind of catering to the audience of where the machine's at. I mean, I was just at the National Unattended Retail Conference 2 weeks ago in Dallas, and Amazon was showing me the Just Walk Out technology. And they're going to put this in the Bengals stadium. They're going to put this in, the Reds concourse where you go grab your pizza and your Mountain Dew. There's AI cameras right above you, and whatever you grab, just like in an airport, you don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to check out because it's going to unlock and lock based on your credit card info to leave that area.
So is that if you utilize like Apple Pay or something, it's going to like read your card?
Yeah, exactly. So they have them even in the Denver airport right along the wall. It's a gate that opens once you put your card in, like the Amazon Prime or the Whole Foods kind of concept they were testing. That's where it started from, this technology. So the gate will open. Brian walks in through the concourse. He's got his fridge of drinks. He grabs his Mountain Dew. It's got breads. Let's say Pizza Hut has their oven cooler, grabs a pizza. And then the next gate won't open until your card's been charged, because it quantifies with the cameras above you what you grab. So you don't even need to scan anything. It's not a self-checkout kiosk like a grocery store or anything like that. It's whatever you grab. I mean, to the point where if you put it back in the wrong spot and then I go grab it, the cameras still pick up on what that item was, even though it's in the wrong spot.
That's all within a vending machine, or is this more of like a little like mini mart? If I'm thinking in the airport, it's like
a mini mart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a mini mart. Yeah, but the technology, it's just AI cameras that are tracking your every step.
So, what is the most profitable item? And maybe that depends on the location. But if you were to calculate your across all of it, is it more like a candy bar, or is it more like the salads?
When you come to profits, drinks definitely have the best margins. I mean, you can do Kirkland bottled water is 10 cents at Costco, and then you can even do a step up of one of the alkaline waters for 7 cents. So we'll sell the Kirkland water for $1, which 90%. But you look at the other water, we'll do $1.75, and we'll go through 20 a day. But the other side is on the snacks. Candy bars have hard margins. Like if you get a Snickers, you're getting a 48 pack in bulk volume for 95 cents. Well, Brian's not going to pay more than maybe 2.25 for a little Snickers, where if we do Pop Tarts, like I literally get 48 packs of Pop Tarts from Costco.com, free delivery to us, 24 cents a 2-pack of Pop Tarts, and we'll sell out those things $1.50, $1.75 like it's no tomorrow.
Wow. Okay. So you keep mentioning Costco. It sounds like where you get your stock is literally from Costco, like a Sam's Club, and you use the free delivery. And where do they deliver it to? Does it come to your house? Do you have an office space where we're going to talk about your stalkers next, but how does that work?
So it's kind of the evolution of your vendingpreneur journey. When you start out, you're going to get it delivered to your house. Your FedEx guy's going to hate you because he's there every other day, and you just keep getting boxes of heavy crap delivered. And then your trash guy's going to hate you because your recycling is going to have a ton of boxes in it. Like, that's the story. So I actually, when I first started, you get 1 or 2 or 3 locations, and you're just trying to see if it works. I actually got a little landscaping shed on the side of my house where I have, it's right inside the side gate. And I just get boxes, carry them over there. Then eventually I hired an operator for 3 hours a week. He'd come by the side gate, pull out the boxes to take to the vending machines, and kind of that whole flywheel. And now we're to a point where we actually have a national kind of distributor where we can get to a point where, because we're ordering so much bulk, we can get past the Costco and Sam's Club. But to start out, 24 cents Pop Tarts selling for $1.50. There's no stock in my portfolio that does that every day.
That's incredible. Okay, so we mentioned kind of where you stuff your massive gobs of food and drink. What about the people? I imagine you need to hire someone if you're just starting out, like this may very well be you. But when you get to the point of maybe it's not what you want to do in terms of going and stocking machines, who do you hire? How do you find them? What do you pay them?
It's way easier than I ever thought, in that I always recommend for the first 90 days, you should roll up your sleeves, because you can't delegate something you don't know what to delegate. And then the second thing is, and we're talking, these machines take a half hour to stock. So that $100 a day machine, we're probably spending 4 hours a month at it. So like, it's not much of your time. You can do it on the way to the store, on the way to, hit bowls, go to the gym, whatever. And then when you hire someone, so I posted an ad in Craigslist, and it was the classic under the gigs section, which was, I guess, all the DoorDash and Uber Eats and all the delivery driver ads. I didn't know this at the time, but it was, I don't care if you do it on Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, doesn't matter. I don't care if you do it at 6 a.m. or 10 p.m. It needs done once a week. And I'll pay you an hour, even though it's going to take you a half hour. $20 an hour. I'll bump it up to 25 an hour cash once you prove yourself in 90 days. I had 40 applicants in 2 days. 40. It blew my mind. I was in Eugene, Oregon. We're not talking like we're in Columbus or Cincinnati. Like, I was just, and it wasn't all college kids either. College kids aren't that motivated to work these days, which was fascinating to me. It was a bunch of just people that are looking, with inflation, they're trying to make ends meet and find jobs they can do. So I actually found a guy who commutes to Eugene 40 minutes on Monday and Tuesday, his off days from his day job, to bring his kids to it. He wanted his kids to go to a private elementary school because they're in a rural town outside of Eugene, Corvallis. So total dependable 50-year-old guy that just literally dropped his kids off at 8 a.m. on Monday and Tuesday and sat around until they got out at 2 o'clock. And he was looking for some side hustle. And I was like, that's perfect. You can stock the machines either of those days. I don't care. It just needs done once a week.
Yeah, that's incredible. So,
and now he works for me full time.
Wow. Okay. Even better.
So I was able to grow the route so quick that we could bring him on and he could leave his day job. So
wow.
Now he gets off at 2 every day.
That's so cool. See, and now you're providing like an awesome lifestyle for this guy that fits him and his family's needs just fine.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's great. He wanted to work on Monday. I was like, no, it's Memorial Day. The machines, if they run out of Snickers, they'll just buy a Twix.
Yeah.
It's not like the toilet broke in your rental.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's awesome. Right. When it comes to knowing when to restock, we talked for a hot second about the technology that you use. You said you can pull out your phone, and is there a piece of tech? Is there an app that you utilize that says, hey, machine number 7 is low on X, Y, and Z? How does that work?
Exactly. You have an app where you're tracking all of that. So you're tracking sales. They have what's the back end will either, depending on which type of machine, it'll be like warehouse or inventory. So you'll know, okay, I have a 14 motor that holds Snickers and we've sold 12. So there's showing two for Brian to buy. So Brian, the customer, doesn't know that it's running low, but you can go backfill those 12 before it shows zero. And you're all tracking that on your phone. So when you start out and you're doing it yourself, you just look at your phone while you're in your little landscaping shed or your garage, and you're like, okay, I need 8 Twix, 5 Snickers, 5 Celsius, 3 Alani, 10, and you just throw them in a bucket, and then you just throw the bucket in your trunk, and you go do it on your time.
That must give you a huge competitive advantage of, and this is one of my next questions, but existing vending machines or existing vendors with machines in however many places. If you were to go into like a residential complex and the vending machine is always empty, but it doesn't have that tech, that's a huge advantage for you.
It's crazy. There's so many, you want to talk about a lot of your episodes about buying boring businesses. This industry is so prime for disruption. Like everyone always say, oh, well, my market's saturated. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It is saturated because 9 out of 10 leads our cold calling team will find, they already have vending machines. And guess what? Those property managers are pissed because those things are sitting empty. And do you want to know why they're sitting empty? Because they have no credit card readers. So the only way to track inventory is by driving by that machine. Yet alone, let's say this machine's in the airport. They're not going to go just swing by the airport and swing through security just to see what to stock this thing with. Where there's things called like, get off your flip phone. We got some iPhones these days. I bought a route remotely in Chicago last month. And, the guy I bought it from, we're in 3 of their properties, but their group manages 4. So right away, I bought this route and I just went to the manager and asked for an intro to their 4th. The 4th called the first 3 and they vouched for it. Now we just added to our route, same decision maker, just from that's
right, and you never know who somebody knows or who they're connected to or with. Maybe that guy who had 3 on that route, he happens to own 5 other complexes and he just doesn't have vending there. That's all brand new business right there.
Exactly. It's that whole power of influence. I mean, gyms are a perfect example. How many, you get in with Planet Fitness in one town and now you just got the whole region because it's probably the same decision maker.
So you brought up a good point. I might be hopping around here, but you said you bought this route. That really piqued my interest because I hadn't thought of that. So there's these routes, you have a ton of equity in these routes, right? The bigger they get, the more valuable they are. So first of all, explain to me what's kind of the multiples that you can achieve for a route, and then how do you go about finding them and seeing if you can buy them up, and is that part of your strategy?
Yeah, it totally is. So that'll definitely accelerate. If finding leads or good locations is the limiting factor, that's the whole goal of and the value that buying a route that already has locations for you kind of accelerates that. But a typical multiple is 1.5 to 2x yearly revenue. And I think if I had to guess where the industry is going in the marketplace of vending, there's going to be a huge consolidation in 2 to 3 years because now people are starting to see how lucrative it can be, and anyone with no vending experience can get in the door with minimal capital. And so these national accounts that still have the archaic old school mindset are either going to need to get with the times or start snatching up these new vending operators as businesses. And so there's going to be a natural consolidation, kind of like what happened with self-storage. But 1.5 to 2x multiple. Ironically, the route I bought in Chicago was a screaming deal. It was actually less than a 1x multiple. It was a fascinating kind of case study. It just had a little bit of leverage there and got it under contract and was able to move forward with it. So just leveraged some seller financing and some kind of the seller had some things he needed to do in an urgent manner. So it kind of worked out for both parties. But you can easily buy a route and then add value to it, whether that's newer machines, whether that's adding credit card readers, or whether that's just going to ask for an intro to their sister property.
Is there like a platform where these are listed, or do you kind of have to be in like Mr. Passive's underground to find out the people who have a route and might be willing to sell it?
I mean, you got your classic websites for businesses for sale. You can do biz, buy, sell. There's some I don't even think there's like vendingrouteforSale.com or some Google search you can find with vending routes for sale. But yeah, the route that I bought in Chicago was actually through the underground community.
Nice. The vending underground. I love that.
Yeah. There you go.
You mentioned the market is always saturated. For those listening, I'm throwing up my air quotes. That doesn't mean you can't break into it. Are there large corporate players in the vending game that do they own all the airports? Are airports on the table for vending? What type of high level competition could there possibly be?
Yeah, so there's definitely players. I think, Canteen, Aramark, I think Canteen did $880 million last year, which you talk about unattended retail. I mean, think about going into an airport, think about going into a sporting event or a concert and the lines at the concession stand. And all those people are making close to minimum wage. They're not reliable. They're massive headaches. So naturally, there's going to be this huge interest in how do we get people what they want when they want it and not lose them and their experience at a Cincinnati Reds game. So I say all that because this industry is completely untapped. And then the other side of it, where you can really position yourself against some of these national accounts, is vending isn't their core revenue. So like if we look at, a company doing 500 plus million, where they probably make more of their money is on the product and distribution, food distribution side. So like you look at Canteen, Canteen probably has a couple locations, or I know they do in all these big cities, but they're also doing all the food distribution that fills up the airplane before the flight. Like the little elevator supplier that goes into the backside of the airplane as you're onboarding on the front side. So are they going to stop by the apartment complex to fill the vending machine, or are they going to go to the Cincinnati campus to fill the cafeteria with soda kegs? They got bigger fish to fry. And so this is where, or even the gym example, are they going to swing by the $3,000 a month machine, or are they going to go swing by the public school that pumps through $3,000 of food a day? And these others kind of are left to the wayside. And then you also got, okay, they're already in. Let's say they're already in the biggest apartment next to University of Oregon with drinks. Well, guess what? You can go to that same manager and say, don't you want snacks? Or what about this salad vending machine? Or this pizza vending machine? Or, the Chicago route we bought, we just started adding crumble cookie to it. Because I think that's where the industry is going, is you're going to have product companies now fighting over space in your vending machine, just like they do at the grocery store. Pepsi wants to be in the grocery store and they don't want Coke in there. Same thing with a vending machine.
So this just hit me. I was thinking of, you said minimum 100 units in like a residential complex. There are thousands, tens of thousands of hotels in the US. Are hotels an option? And I know like they have like their little mini marts. Could those be replaced by vending?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a really fascinating. So I had a meeting not too long ago with Marriott Corporate, and we were actually talking about their courtyards. They have the different levels, and all their courtyards have these, like you said, these mini markets right next to the front desk where you can go grab a little shooter of wine or an ice cream sandwich or a bag of chips, and then you got to go wait in line at the front desk. Well, their Marriott Corporate's number one pain point is the friction of what they call the customer experience. So what if Vendingpreneur A in Dayton is going to put a self-checkout kiosk in that Courtyards mini market right there in downtown? So now every time they come through, they have to put that product, gets expensed to their room card. They just swipe their room card. Now you got that whole feedback loop where they're not clogging up the front desk, where it's someone that wants to charge a room credit to their Cheetos while someone else has been waiting for 30 minutes just to check in for their room. And then now their employees that don't show up on time anyway don't have to stock that dang mini mart, because if that's Brian's location and Brian only gets paid on revenue, guess what Brian's going to be freaking incentivized to do? Keep that thing freaking full with the items that are selling.
Using that as an example, is that something you mentioned, like a little self-checkout kiosk? Is that where rather than buying a vending machine or multiple machines per se, you maintain that mini mart, but you're the purveyor of the kiosk?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So the space is already there, the cooler's already there, the shelving's already there. Now you're putting a point of sale there, so there's not a bottleneck at the front desk.
Wow. Okay. And Marriott, they don't do this themselves because it's just not a massive priority, or it's just easier to outsource it?
Well, I think they're to the point where these mini marts, this is why they put these in all their hotels. Now their pain point is the reliance on their employees. Okay, we sold 20 bottles of Mountain Dew last night. Why does our cooler look like it's raided by a bunch of kids from a wedding party? And the lady that was supposed to work the front desk is too bogged down with checkouts and trying to chase down cleaners that didn't show. And just like all of those other daily tasks, that stocking that mini mart is not the priority. And so that's where they went down this path, and then they realized, like, well, we're a hotel, we're not a food provider.
We've talked a lot about how this is kind of a local operation, yet you just bought that route in Chicago. I think don't you have like a mini mart in Philly?
Philly, yeah.
Right outside Philly. So can this business, does it really need to stay local to the vendingpreneur, or is this something you can really take outside your general area, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or 10 hours?
If you know what you're doing, it's a playbook that can be ran anywhere. And if you have people, you need boots on the ground you trust. That's the root of it. You need an option A, you need a Joe Burrow, and then you need that running back and the receiver in case Joe Burrow gets hurt. So that's like the kind of the root of, I would never recommend trying to run a route remotely if you haven't done it locally, because back to the delegation thing, like how are you going to, that's just a whole nother variable that you're not really experienced with.
Well, and for those listening that might be inspired by this, you don't necessarily need to go outside of your local area, right? Is there depending on where you are, there should be plenty of options in your, within an hour of you, to where you can still have the opportunity to start this business from the ground up.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you start where you're at. And if you got a buddy that's like, wow, this is amazing what you've built here. I live in Tampa and I think it would crush here. Maybe you start to build out a whole separate business, leveraging the same playbook. And now you're going into business with someone, but now they're doing more of there's so many angles to really scale this.
I love it. And time-wise, you mentioned a little bit earlier that about 4 hours a month per machine in terms of stocking. Like, I'm thinking of this from somebody who maybe they're at a day job, or maybe they're working part-time and they're looking to start this vending business to start replacing that. What's the time commitment from day one when you buy that first machine? Is this doable if you have a 9 to 5? Can you maintain it while you're still maybe raising a family too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many ways to parlay this and make it part of your family life. We have 2 kids under age 3, and every Saturday I have a daddy-daughter date where my wife and I go to Costco. Back when we were stocking ourselves and getting all the product ourselves, we literally would get our groceries in the main cart and throw all the sodas and chips and stuff in the bottom of the cart. And then, because you got about a half hour to order inventory a week, and then a half hour per machine to stock a week. And so I just, you do the math, but a machine that's doing, let's say $1,500 a month, that's $300 for $350 a week. What's that hour a week of time worth to you? And then you get 2, 3, 4. And now for us, we got into it. So we didn't want to change our lifestyle with kids. So it was more like the first one's going to pay for our babysitter. The second and third one's going to allow us, if we want to have a nanny for our second kid. It was like, do you want to get whatever, the gym membership or yoga thing? Like, we're big on this whole health and quality of life focus.
So we've talked about a lot of numbers today. I want to kind of lay out the hard math for our listeners and for myself, quite honestly. I've learned not to do math on air, but I think we're about to do some. So you just mentioned that a good machine is producing roughly $1,500 a month, or call that an average. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So with $1,500 a month in gross, you have into this machine roughly anywhere from $100 to $300 payment. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's definitely not 300. I would say $100 to $200 depending on interest rates. So like rates are, they're a little bit higher right now. So my machines from 5 or 6 years ago, $110. My machines I ordered for last week, $170 a month.
Wow, that's incredibly affordable. Okay, so you have the $1,500 gross. You've got that $100 to $170, $100, $200 in the payment. What do your numbers look like in terms of the stocking cost and then your stocker? What are we looking at in terms of profit each month from that 1,500?
Yeah, so if we start out 1500, right away your cost of goods is going to be 35%. You can get lower to 30, closer to 30% if you find good deals. Right now there's a big Memorial Day sale at every freaking grocery store where you can get, your third case of Dr. Pepper for free. So it will lower your cans of soda down to 37 cents that you charge $1.50 for. So if we got 30, let's say 35% cost of goods, so 1,500, 30% of that, 35% of that's, I don't know, 600. Then you got $170. Let's just round up and say 200 in machine costs. You're going to put an extra 30 towards principal. Now you're at 800, and then the rest, if you're doing it yourself, is profit. I forgot we do have a credit card fee of $15 to $20 a month, so we're right at, let's say, 825, and then the rest is profit. So that's $700, $675 is profit. If you hire an operator to stock that machine once a week for 30 minutes, you can be a stickler and pay him for 30 minutes, or you can be a nice guy and round up for an hour of his time. So that's 4 hours at $25. That's another $100. So right away you're at 825, 925. You're profiting $575 with no money down.
Okay, 575 with no money down. That's a nice little side income, right? Now let's say you parlay that into two machines, you're already over $1,100. And I mean, you just do the math. Let's say you end up with 5 machines, you're doing just under $3,000 a month in profit. That's your take home. This can get lucrative quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the two machines we installed last week at the fitness center and the college apartment are doing over $100 a day. We did 210 at the one yesterday. So, I mean, that's $3,000 a month in revenue, 1,500 in profit, just two machines right away. That's almost a W-2 after taxes, that, equivalent of an $80,000 salary and then the crazy thing for us that I didn't really factor when I got into it was the equity side. So if you get that portfolio going, let's say you get it to $5,000 a month in revenue, $2,500 profit, side hustle, let's just say 50%. That $5,000 times 12. Now your daughter's gone to college and you don't have the teenager to run the route anymore. Now you got $5,000 times 12, 60K in equity. You sell that for 2x. That's $120,000 just from equity of a route you built.
Wow. This is money where you can start stacking these to replace your mortgage payment, to replace your debt payments, to replace your car payments, whatever it might be, or maybe max out your IRA, right? Drop a $6-7 into your IRA every year from your first 6 month profits.
Exactly. I mean, we have people that are using it to fund their FBA startup. So now they have the cash flow from the vending to pay for the inventory for their more risky FBA. Like we got 3 carpet cleaners that, because you're calling into the same decision makers. So now they're taking our vendingpreneur leads and selling them on carpet cleaning or any type of commercial cleaning. So like there's so many parlays to this that the thing about the different kind of income streams I have is vending's the most consistent. Like Warren Buffett's been talking about it forever, where he started his vending route when he was 18. He sold it when he was 19 for a quick buck. And he regrets it because it's water and food are essential items during any economic downturn. So you're always going to have people that are going to pay for convenience with that stuff.
No doubt. So we talked about all the great things that can come from a vending route and being a vendingpreneur. Let's talk a little bit about if there are any liabilities or struggles. What can you run into that might be on the negative side or that need more attention in order to deal with them?
Yeah, so there's always liabilities in every investment. So definitely not oblivious to that. I think the first liability is it's not a get rich quick scheme. I always say that if you're looking to leave your day job tomorrow, like go invest in crypto and good luck, throwing it in that. I mean, I just like vending is such a numbers game and it's so simple. You go do 10 pop-ins by pounding the pavement and going into 10 places, you're probably going to get 3 that are interested and you'll probably get 2 that sign up and you'll get 7 that tell you no. So it's just like baseball. If you hit 300, you're an all-star. And you just got to get used to being told no, or we're happy right now, circle back in 6 months. But then you get rolling and everyone thinks, oh, well, what about the time side of it? Like the time side of stocking and buying inventory is so easy. You can hire a VA for a couple bucks an hour that can order your inventory for you. You can literally, I hired my operator on Craigslist. I could only afford $60 a week for him for 3 machines. And I was still coming out well over 50% margins with those. And I wasn't doing anything besides, I just wanted to order the inventory because I didn't trust him yet to give him my credit card. So like there's those things that, you got to kind of build trust in your route, and then you got to build, it's like running any business. If you or I or someone gets hit by a bus, like, can it run itself? And if my operator gets hit by a bus, can it run it? Like, so you got to always have those plan Bs and Cs ready to go just in case.
Right. This is so cool. Well, we should probably start landing the plane here. I could sit here and talk with you all day, Mike. This is awesome. But what to round it out here, what is the outlook for vending? What does it look like in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's going to go to this whole unattended concept, and it's already going there. Amazon's kind of pioneer with the just walk out technology, but I think everything is going to be frictionless. You're going to go grab items. You're going to go check out. You're not going to talk to anyone. You're going to get charged for what you grab. There's no like, you go raid the store and you run off. Like, it's going to be you're going to use your card to unlock whatever that place is. I think that's the future of it. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of disruption. You're already seeing it on the machine side, these old, big, bulky machines where you enter in a code for a soda and then you got to enter in the code again for a snack. It's like, I'm going to grab my Cheetos, my soda, and I'm walk out and I don't talk to anyone kind of concept is going to take over.
Yeah. So the market is ripe for disruption, as you've already said. Now's the time to get in.
Yeah, and then digital ads too. I'm a firm believer with these new modern marts. There's gonna be video boards think of a luxury apartment in Chicago in the Loop that we just bought. Now we can go to the Cubs and be like, hey, the Reds are in town this weekend. Do you want is high end residence and attractive to you? Like, what do you want to pay for ad space? How much time do you want on there? And then you can just set that. And now your margins on digital ads are freaking 95%. And then you got people fighting over that shelf space. So they're going to want the digital ads. Plus they're going to want space. So when you run the ad, they have somewhere to go buy it.
This is so cool. All right. I want to round out our conversation here with Mike's best advice, your number one piece of advice for somebody that's maybe you've just piqued their interest on vending, being a vendingpreneur. What's the number one thing that you can send them off with today?
Professional persistence. You're always scared to send the follow-up or scared to kind of pop in somewhere. And so I just come back to, whatever I bought, like a car I bought, it was always a sales rep that wouldn't leave me alone. And at the end of the day, he got my business. So professional persistence is just something that I'm super passionate about, that I think Cuban says it best. Like, patents and stuff are patents, but people that rise to the top are people that are going to be persistent and just get after it. And so that's kind of what I always live by.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today. How can our listeners find you and get in touch with you, maybe connect or check out everything that has to do with Mike Hoffman and Mr. Passive?
Yeah, so you can definitely come to Mr. Passive's website. I'm big on Instagram and YouTube, Twitter, all those kind of social media channels as well. I'm always pumping out just free content and a little behind the scenes of cost of goods versus what it sells like in the machine or the digital ad stuff or any of that, just to share with the following.
Wonderful. And that's MrPassive.com, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much again, Mike. This was an absolute pleasure. And to all the MU Nation listeners out there, I hope we piqued your interest with this. It sure did for me. So thank you again, Mike. I look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thanks, Brian. And thanks for what you're building at MU.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. You really brought the noise, and man, those are some serious value bombs. If you weren't aware of the vending industry before this, then you certainly are now, and you can realize along with me that the barrier of entry to this type of business is not very high, and the upside is massive, especially when you can start building equity in these routes. Thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to produce this awesome content. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in and day out. We appreciate you, and we hope that you reach out to us whenever you want or need us. Hit us up at support@millionaireuniversity.com or find us on your social media accounts. We are everywhere. All right, folks, you all keep crushing it, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Millionaire University Podcast.